Astrology for the weekend of the 17th to the 20th of April. It's Easter weekend and stuff is wild out there. So I'm bringing back our weekend astrology and weekly astrology updates just to support us through these intensely dynamic, transformative, everything is changing on the inner and the outer kind of times. So this weekend is no different. There is a lot of transformation energy, but there's also some really great supportive aspects. I'm going to take us through day by day, Thursday through Sunday. But before I do that, I want to give you some themes, some overall themes that we can sink our teeth into over the weekend. Also, maybe some like warning signs of like what might not be super great to do this weekend. We still have Venus retrograde, so it might not be super great to go full steam ahead quite yet with plans. Now, there's also going to want to be some like you're wanting to move forward maybe. Mars is moving into Leo on Thursday. Now, this is going to probably have a feel of let's go, right? This is like our warrior being released from the inner world and is going to want to make some things happen. Mercury is also direct. Venus is direct. Like everything is direct. So it is go time. However, there's just a little bit of a warning sign here that there's some fogginess going on this weekend too. Neptune's up in the mix and is creating a little bit of delusion still, a little bit of illusion, like we might not be seeing things super, super clearly, and not all of the insights that have dropped, that are meant to drop in, have dropped in from eclipse season. We just came out of that, along with this Mercury and Venus retrograde, which is kind of extending eclipse energy. That's the energy of what's being eclipsed out of my life and what's being eclipsed into my life. But then Mercury and Venus went back over these areas of the chart and it was a big review. They've gone direct for sure, but still in the shadow phase. Mars, still in that shadow phase. Yes, he's moving into Leo. He's still in his shadow phase. So there's still these little bits of there will be more clarity, and there will be more clarity after this weekend. All right, let's do this day by day thing. So Thursday, we have Mars moving into Leo. What does this mean? So this is him coming out of Cancer. When Mars is in Cancer, it's almost like we get really protective of self. We get really protective of our inner circle, whatever that might mean for you. And so it's almost like our warrior, which is typically a fiery outward expression of what do I care so much about that I would fight for? It's what you want to feel for. Like I would, we said this in a ReWilding retreat once, and I loved this so much because some of us, like, we really struggle, like, dude, I don't need to talk about the warrior. Like, especially us women, we're like, dude, more fighting? Are you kidding me? I'm tired. Like, I live in this patriarchal fucking society. I just want to like love up my feminine for a minute. Okay, I get it. But I love this saying. And it was, what would I die for? And then we reframed it. What would I live for? You know, like from a standpoint of like, what is it that I would really fight for? And so Mars on Thursday, Mars moving into Leo is now, what would I fight for that has to do with my unique expression of self? Isn't that interesting? That's kind of Leo. Sovereign self, like Leo is the king, queen kind of a sign. It's like sovereign self, my unique self standing in my power. Now I am externally expressing my warrior to support me radiating my true shining self. That's Leo, right? Radiating my true shining self. You radiating your true shining self out into the world, but it's now Mars is going to be behind that, supporting that. You can think of different practices that you might want to do with that. I would use the element of fire, you know, the color red. The element of fire is so good for Leo. Leo's a fire sign, Mars is fiery, and him moving into that, if that serves or feels good for you, this could be a big shift in the masculine in all of us. Our external world, it's going to be interesting to see what this does out on the world stage, right? Because all the countries, all the, you know, I don't need to get into all that stuff, but we're very much in a Cancerian warrior energy, and now it's going to be an external expression outward of the warrior energy. I don't know. We're going to see how this goes. But remember that Mars is still in his retrograde shadow. right? He's direct, but he's still in that shadow territory. So it's still like implementing now what was reviewed, revised, revisited, recalibrated on a masculine evolutionary journey. That's Mars going retrograde, a masculine evolutionary journey. We could dive into that like all day long, right? Isn't that crazy? So, okay, let's go on to Friday. Friday's the really good day for spiritual practices. Good Friday. I love this. So the moon is conjunct Shiva. Now Shiva is such an amazing energy, archetypal energy of divine masculine consciousness, divine masculine consciousness, divine masculine consciousness. And it like opens up our consciousness, expanding, 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 states of bliss, right? States of peace, meditating into the void. Most meditative practices are very masculine based. They're very Shiva based. They're very no mind, no thought, peace, bliss, right? The bliss in the nothingness, right? The great expanse, you know, the just the void, and you can just open up, open up, open up, open up, open up, open up. That can be so healing, and it can be so nurturing for so many of us. There's just many things that we can do in that territory too. But now the next piece of it is that this is going to be happening all weekend, but I want to weave this into Friday because it's a support to this, to the spiritual practices, to higher states of consciousness, or spiritual awakenings. I want to say this too, like even feminine spiritual awakenings. Now here's why. I'm going to talk first about the masculine spiritual awakenings, then I'm going to talk a little bit about the feminine spiritual awakenings. So masculine spiritual awakening. Mars, we talked about Mars, right? It's a very ego. It's very much pointing to Mars is a personal planet. It points to what it is that we very much are conscious of in ourselves. So Mars trining Neptune. Mars trining Neptune. That's a good aspect to the mystic. It's a good aspect to the mystic. Good Friday. This is a weekend where many people around the world collectively are going to be really in devotion to, in some way, Christ energy. Now, Neptune, really, this is an energy of cloud of unknowing. Now, there's a really beautiful book in the Christian tradition that was written, unknown author, which is so perfectly Neptunian, so perfectly Neptunian. And it's called The Cloud of Unknowing. And it's this energetics of, and you let this Neptune energy come in and it just dissolves your ego structures. It dissolves you into this higher state of all is one. This is stunning. This is stunning. It's stunning. And it opens up. There's a possibility to open up to so many of these wisdoms that are held in these divine masculine states. So it's kind of why I'm saying like divine masculine awakening is so on offer here. Now, Mars trines Neptune and also Mercury, right? So Mercury is the messenger of the gods. Mercury is your mind, it's your thinking. So it's like we have mystic mind and we'll be able to be aware more. We'll be able to translate these states of consciousness more. I love this. I think it's so beautiful and so stunning. Now, what's the feminine awakening? So again, this is happening all weekend, but it's Venus is sextile Uranus. Venus is sextile Uranus, so Venus, feminine aspect. Venus, goddess of love, goddess of beauty. Venus is the feminine that we are most associated with when we think of the feminine sensuality, feminine lover. It's not the feminine mother, that would be the moon. This is the feminine lover aspect. So you can think creativity, you can think beauty, you can think flow, creative flow states. You can think radiance. You can think like that magnetic capacity of the feminine. And then you want to think Uranus. Uranus is Kundalini awakener. Kundalini is feminine. This is so good in a really beautiful aspect. So Uranus, the Kundalini awakener, right, is waking up the serpent, waking up that wisdom energy held in the feminine, waking up the psycho-spiritual capacity, specifically in Venus. Sacred sexuality, crazy powerful this weekend. Sacred dance, women's circle, wildly potent this weekend. right? I love this. I love this. Stunning. It's stunning. Now there's a little bit that we might want to honor because Venus is conjunct Saturn. Saturn can be very constrictive. Saturn can be very constrictive. But if we just kind of honor it and we invite Saturn, Saturn can also have very Shiva-like, very huge divine masculine energies to him. If we invite that Saturn aspect to stand in a place of his capacity to hold the fullness of the feminine, it's a different story. It's a very different story, but that's like doing your Saturn work. But even if you just hold that intention, it'll often shift the constriction to a sense of holding in reverence for the fullness of the feminine, right? And Saturn is one of the archetypal energies that can hold the wildest of the wild in the feminine, right? The dark goddess aspects of the feminine, right? The high mystical aspects of the feminine, the completely sensual, I want to seduce you kind of energy of the feminine. Saturn is one of those masculine archetypal energies that can hold the full spectrum, and not just hold it, but be in deep reverence, deep devotion to it. So I love this, but it depends on what our relationship, our feminine's relationship is to Saturn. You know, sometimes we just see him as like, oh, Father Time, Lord of Karma. Oh, you're like the disciplinaire, you know? So we'll see how that kind of unfolds for us. All right, let's move on. So that's Friday. Then we get into Saturday. Saturday, we have the sun. This is the grounding aspect. Saturday, we have the sun moving into Taurus. So if you think sun coming out of fast moving Aries, right? The sun has just been, and the sun is conscious part of self, right? And the sun, this conscious part of self, is out of like, go, 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 so fast, right? Aries, fire, fast, go, into whoosh, grounded, earthy. Here is what I'm anchoring into. So Saturday is a really great day to get super clear on what it is that you're grounding into, you're anchoring into, what it is that over this review revise period, over this eclipse season, the last couple of weeks, you can go the last couple of months, I would say month, 2 months, but just go month, keeps it easier for the mind. And you just go, okay, the last couple of months, a lot of things have changed, a lot of things have changed, there's been a lot of things have changed. But now, 0 point, remember I mentioned 0 point before? 0 point. This moment in time, being so totally present to this moment in time, do those spiritual practices I mentioned to bring you into this moment in time, this 0 point energy, right? It's like the death, the rebirth, that point of that 0 point, that resurrection, like right here, 0 point. And from this point, what is true for me to anchor into, ground into? I'm going to invite us to not ground into the old, to not ground into what used to work, what used to make us feel safe and secure, but to ground into from 0 point now, who I am now after these couple of weeks of deep transformation. So that's a really great practice to do on Saturday. Now, also, let me just remind us, you probably won't hear about this in many places astrologically because most places don't look at Isis. Isis, she sits in that 0 point energy. That's where Isis derives her magic from, Egyptian goddess Isis. She derives her magic from the in-between space, between death and birth. Now, she's at 0 point. She's at 0 point of Taurus. This is stunning. And this is where the sun meets Isis at 0 point of Taurus. It is so powerful. And if you've worked with Isis and you've tapped into some of her Shakti or her mysteries or the energetics of her, or just meditate on her, right? You tap into it and you can really pour some juice behind what it is that you've deciphered and discerned is true for you from this 0 point energy, this moment in time, right? Right here, what is this? What is it that I am really called to ground into? It might be one tiny little thing because so much is still in flux, but that one tiny little thing makes a massive difference. So being so honest about what it is and what it is not that you can ground into. I've got so much bad lettuce here. My gosh, I took a trip this week that I wasn't planning on taking. And if you were waiting for a video from me, I'm sorry. I took a trip home to be with my dad for a couple of days while he was in the hospital. And now I've got all this bad lettuce. Anyways, let's do our final day, Sunday. This is the day of depth. All weekend this is playing out, but this is the day of depth. Feel into what it would mean for you to go a little deeper, in yourself, to go a little deeper in your conversations, to go a little deeper in your meditations, to go a little deeper in your journal prompts. This is Pluto. The moon is conjunct Pluto on Sunday. Now the moon is conjunct Pluto and opposing Mars. Mars is only 2 degrees off of Pluto. I talked in the last astrology proper podcast episode. I think it was the full moon episode. Yeah. And I talked about Mars being Pluto's henchman. I really feel this. For all of us, it's like Mars, the warrior, is acting on behalf of what Pluto's deep transformation is asking for. Pluto just moved into Aquarius. He's like, is a new age, sunshine. This is a new place of deriving power from. So feel into that for yourself. If there's a new place that you're meant to be deriving power from, and your warriors, that's Mars, gonna be the henchman for it, what is he kicking up? What is he showing you? And you gotta go a little deeper to see this, right? You gotta go a little deeper because Pluto's all about evolutionary transformation. That's Pluto, he's an evolutionary soul point. It's a great point to look at when you wanna think about your soul's purpose for being here in this lifetime. Pluto will reveal a lot for you. But what Pluto's wanting to do is wanting to access a personal planet, Mars, right? Personal planet, the masculine aspect of you. Access that aspect of you. He's like, you're going to do my bidding. You're going to do my bidding because this is so deep and so unconscious, the changes, the tectonic plates that I'm moving here. I want to also say like the deep psychological thought patterns, what you stand upon psychologically, your belief systems, your thought systems. I am changing that on such deep levels, and it's hard for a person to access that consciously. So you're going to do my bidding. You're going to be like the go-between. You're going to be my middleman, and you're going to go to battle. You're going to go to battle. Remember, it was in Cancer. Mars was going to battle for our inner world. Now Mars is going to battle for our unique radiance, external expression out into the world. This is stunning, but it's like if we can find spaces where we can really get into the shadows. We want to get into the shadows. There's so much juice in the shadows. There's so much golden shadow in the shadows, right? These gifts that we have yet to awaken to, these purposes that we have yet to hear that are calling to us, especially now because so many of the old purposes are going. So much of what was feeling fulfilling for us is gone. I talked a ton about this in this really in-depth podcast that just came out today, actually Thursday, the 17th. It's episode 306, and it's about this is a moment in time where it is a soul rewiring, a soul reorganizing, a soul, like it's like we're reinventing ourselves. And I had a big conversation with Karen, a woman on the ReWilding team. We really went for it. Talked about like the 4-pillar godding framework. So that's in that podcast episode. If you're on Instagram or Facebook, you can type 306 and we can send you a link to it. If you're on TikTok or you're watching on YouTube, you'll find a link either up in the bio or in the description down below. But I would very much go dive into that episode next. So it's episode 306 and it's a conversation with Karen and I. You'll find it. It's really easy. It's stunning and it could be really, really good for kind of this weekend of resurrection, this weekend of revival, and what it is that this moment in time has on offer for us, right? If we can really kind of surrender to it in a really healthy, and we talk about this too, exactly like what is victim, surrendering into victim of fate versus this like empowered surrendering. Like what is that and what happens when we lean into that? So I would invite you to watch that this weekend at some point, 306 again, and we can DM you or just look for the links below or above. You can dive into it when you're ready. All right, I love you all. It's really beautiful to be here with you. I'm going to continue picking through my salad to see how much more of this I can save. Would love to see you in the comments. I'm always there the first day or so after this goes out. All right, huge love to you.